Are you ready? Stand by.
Hey everybody, I'm Dave Hartman and welcome to The Three Gun Show. This is episode 228 where I talk to Ben Peterson of 3G Fit and Hiperfire about everyone's favorite off-season topic, fitness. Specifically, how to train your body to perform better on a course of fire. This podcast is brought to you by Breda USA, Italian shotguns that are the best in the world. And this is a shotgun tech tip from Team Breda. Hey, this is Dave Hartman from The Three Gun Show, and I've got Keith Garcia here from Team Breda, and he's got a shotgun tech tip for us. Keith, what do you got?
Thanks, Dave. All right, so when you're doing your shotgun loading practice, once you get the shells in your hand, if you're quad loading, my mantra is you got to go hard and deep every time. Like a lot of things in life, hard and deep will get you where you want to go. If I go and I push and I try as hard as I can to get those shells in there, and the first set of shells in my hand, there's no problem at all. Okay? My second set, my fingers don't hit anything. There's no problem with getting the second set of shells out of the way. If I go hard and I get past the shell stop, the actual shells will stay in the gun as opposed to popping back out. A lot of people, they want to baby them in and just try and get them in there real softly. Don't do it. Set it up there, have them in your hand, and push hard and deep. Repurpose the second shells, move your thumb, and drive them into the gun. Don't stick your thumb into the gun. Run your thumb over the top, drive them deep in the gun. If you have a nice cut that allows the shells to get in there without stuffing your finger in the gun, you'll be way ahead of the game.
All right, and that's your shotgun tech tip with Keith Garcia of Team Breda.
Hard and deep.
Check out Breda's B12i 3-gun ready inertia-driven shotgun at BredaUSA.com. That's BREDA. We're nearing the end of 2018 here, completing some partnership obligations that we have and planning more exciting stuff for 2019. And I want to take a moment here to thank the 3-Gun Show patrons for their ongoing support of the podcast. You guys and gals are the backbone of the show, and I could not do this without you. For those of you that aren't familiar with Patreon, I don't talk about it very much on this show, but that's going to change coming up in the new year here. Patreon is a subscription-based service where you can support art or entertainment that you enjoy. For example, as of this recording, there are 183 people that support this show on a monthly basis for $5, $10, $25 on up, and there are rewards associated with each of these contributions. I currently produce 4 to 5 shows per month, so if you like this episode and you think that you get at least $1.25 worth of value out of it, consider supporting the show at patreon.com/3gunshow. That's Patreon. And if you do, you will not be disappointed. And I thank you. Now on to this week's show. Ben Peterson of Hiperfire and 3G Fit is my guest this week. We got together to continue a conversation on specific physical training for 3-gun that we had started at the Jeff Kirkwold Memorial 3-gun match. Ben is a personal trainer and competitive shooter and is working on a program to share with the community that will significantly up your game. I got an update from Ben today, and he says that testing for the program that we're talking about in this podcast is going really well, and he expects to launch the program that we discuss in the March timeframe. So when it's available, we'll be sure to let you know, and also want to keep an eye on Ben's social media and stuff like that, which is linked up in the show notes. Before we get into that, though, Ben also tells the really cool story behind Hiperfire, and I love hearing the origin stories of companies. Actually, the origin story of anything is kind of fun, but especially companies in the industry, because these stories truly model the American dream, and this one is not any different. So you're going to like it, and enjoy this interview with Ben Peterson. Welcome, everybody, to the 3-Gun Show. This is a special Sunday edition with our buddy Ben Peterson from Hiperfire. Ben, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave, man. Good to see you.
It's good to see you too, man. It's good to have you back. I'm pumped to chat with you today, because that last time you were on the show was at the Jeff Kirkwold Memorial match, and we were talking briefly after the shooting had ended, and you brought up an interesting topic, and we've talked about it a little bit since then, and we think we have a good topic for the show here, and that is physical training for competitive shooting.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, man. I mean, everybody's looking for the latest and greatest in gear and dry fire practices, but so much is skipped over in fitness.
Yeah, and I like the thoughts that you have on it, and the practical application that you were able to draw some parallels with when you were on the show previously. So I'm excited to get into that topic here, but first, let's get to know you as a person. So we're kind of doing a deep dive here on Ben Peterson. So who's Ben when he's not shooting? What do you do when you're off the range?
Well, man, I'm a single dad. I raise a little girl. She'll be 9 soon. So I've got her 9 months out of the year, and that's quite a handful. But luckily, I've got a lot of family close by. Otherwise, really, my entire life is pretty devoted to shooting, gunsmithing. Really everything that my job entails, as well as fitness. So it's a pretty busy life, but all of it ties together, and it's really nice.
Right. So you're the product manager for Hiperfire. You're actually in the Hiperfire studios right now.
Yes, I am.
It's pretty exciting. Yep. So let's talk about then. What do you do for Hyperfire? What is a product manager?
So really, product manager is basically everything from the initial concept that somebody cooks up in their brain all the way up until it is a finished product ready to sell, and then it gets passed off to our director of operations, Nate. So really, step by step, Terry Bender, our owner, is really the one who comes up with most of the ideas, and then my job is to essentially take his ideas of what he originally puts down on paper, make sure that it's going to work, go through all the prototypes and testing, and really just create testing regimens, perform the testing regimens, and find out what the best mix of everything's going to be to put out the best product that we can. And so really, from start to a product being ready to sell, that's what I handle.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So that is, first, I'm glad you explained that, because it's not what I thought you did at all.
Yep.
Well, that's pretty cool. So you've actually been with Hyperfire, I'm guessing a little over a year now. Is that about right?
I actually just hit my 1 year mark on the 2nd of September. So what was that, last Saturday?
Right. And so Hyperfire is like one of those interesting things. It's like a small company that a lot of people have heard of, right? So on the outside it appears big, but you guys have like less than 10 people working there?
Yeah, we've got 7 people that work here, and that's what a lot of people don't really realize. So everybody wears a lot of hats. Not only am I the product manager, but customer service manager, event coordinator, sponsorship coordinator, so many different things. But the view around here is we could use many more people, and we could hire many more people right now. But the idea is to get everybody working as hard as they can, and to put in all that they can, so that we can all get paid well and enjoy what we do. So so it is a small crew here, but it's definitely a happy crew, and we got a lot to do. So
right. Well, so you're integrated into the firearms community as well as a 3-gun shooter yourself.
Yes.
How did you get into all that? When did competitive shooting come on the scene for you?
Well, growing up, I was always the guy that wanted to be a part of some sort of sport. But once I would get into different sports, I played a lot of soccer. I played football for a while. I tried out a little bit of baseball. Was never very good at basketball. So tall is not always everything you need. But I never really fit in anywhere. I'm a competitive person myself, but I'm competitive internally. So I'm always trying to do better than myself. And I found it hard to be competitive against other people. So when I would get into these team sports and everybody was just so cutthroat, you could have your best friend on a football team, and as soon as he starts outperforming you, he kind of pushes you to the wayside, and that's that. So it's about not only the sport itself and the community. So I grew up in a family where there wasn't a lot of shooters. My great grandfather was the one who had shotguns leaning against the wall by his front door. So I kind of started to pick things up through that in Boy Scouts, and really, it was once I joined the military where firearms really became prevalent for me. And then, after that, I got into concealed carry. I started doing some IDPA, and really it just kind of flowed from there. So when somebody said, "Hey, there's this thing called 3-gun," I said, "Oh, what's that?"
Like, oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah, so you're telling me I get to run 3 guns on a course instead of just one? All right, I'm going to do this.
And I don't have to wear a fishing vest? That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
So what was that first 3-gun match like for you?
Well, my first 3-gun match ever was actually the Tri-Gun up here in Minnesota.
Oh, cool.
And so I didn't get to get my feet wet. I had never even seen a 3-gun course other than on YouTube. So it was actually before I started working for Hyperfire. I worked for an ammunition company, and all of a sudden I got a call from Nate, and he was like, "Hey, by the way, Hyperfire's got 1 slot for this Tri-Gun thing. I can't go, so you're going to go." And it's a month away. So luckily I snuck into kind of a preparation class from Minnesota 3-gun group. And so I got one class and then just jumped right into the tri-gun. And so it was an interesting experience, but right away, that very first match, I found exactly what I was looking for. And that's just, a gun goes down, people are handing you their $4,000 or $5,000 shotgun saying, here you go, man, just go ahead and use this. And I'm going, wait, are you serious? You just handed me the keys to your Ferrari, dude. And so it was instant for me. And I've always been, a natural shooter. So coming in, under the top 100 in my very first match ever was just really cool for me. So after that, the sickness was born.
Yeah. Didn't take long, huh?
Not at all.
Well, so what was it about the match that you liked so much? Was it the camaraderie only, where you're seeing, like you said, people handing you their guns if you're in need, or was there something more to it than that?
Really, it was a deeper look at everything. I'm the type of person, I'm extremely inquisitive. I have to know exactly how everything works. And so the inner workings of the people involved, as well as the stages, and finding out that there's so many different ways that you can get that upper hand. And so just really analyzing each and every stage. I mean, the tri-gun up here is oftentimes 12 stages, and you've got jungle runs to small base stages and everything. And so just seeing the real, large dynamic of 3-gun, just every aspect of it instantly pulled me in, and I had to know more about all of it.
Right. Well, so was it one of those things where you realize, like, oh, I'm a little more deficient in this area than I thought I was, and now I want to improve that, and then just kind of end up being a whack-a-mole thing over the years?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, it's very similar with my job here at Hyperfire as a product manager, is that my specialty is finding out where the flaws are and fixing them. And the best part about it is you improve in one area and suddenly that's your best area. And then you're going, oh crap, now I got to work on these other areas. So it's just always a constant, progression upwards with your different skills. And I just love it. There's never a point where I feel like, okay, I'm here, there's nowhere else I can go. There's always more to do. And I absolutely love it. Yeah,
one of the things I really like seeing is friends that will say, like, I feel like my pistol game is not as good as it used to be. And like if I know that person and I've shot with them for a long time, like you can watch them and evaluate. No, it's not that your pistol skills have gotten worse. It's that your rifle skills and your shotgun skills have accelerated so much from when you started that you haven't brought the pistol along with it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really what a lot of it was for me this year. I came in about halfway through the season last year. So a lot of it was just, hey man, hit all your targets and don't get DQ'd. And then this year I started actually looking into what skills I had to work on. And so I've always been a very proficient rifle shooter, and shotgun came naturally. So I was like, hey, I got to work on my pistol this year. And it's the exact same thing. Suddenly people start saying, whoa, where'd you come from with that pistol? I'm going, yeah, but did you see that crap shotgun work? So it really is. And that's, again, that's part of the amazement to me, is it's like, okay, now I've spent an entire season working on my pistol, and so I'm just going to focus on rifle for a while now. So
yeah, I love that part of it, and I also hate that part of it too, because it's very difficult to manage all three platforms at once, and then all the other things that you need when you're shooting 3-gun, you need to manage and get better at each of them. Like it's very difficult to put all that together.
It is, and you can tell, especially when you run into those shooters that are like, hey man, I've got maybe 2 days a month that I can actually work on this stuff, versus the guy who can actually do it all day, every day. Myself personally, I'd say I'm extremely blessed. I mean, my 8-year-old daughter dry fire practices with me. She's got a bunch of her own gear that she does it with. So not only when I'm here at work am I able to, set down what I'm doing when it's lunchtime and say, okay, I'm going to do a half-hour dry fire practice around the shop, and it's totally normal because that's what we do. As well as every time we go out testing, I get to do some live fire practice and mix it in with my R&D and testing, as well as the fact that every single match we sponsor, I get to go to and shoot. So it's just when you are able to dedicate that much time to it, you can see significant strides and everything. And there's a lot of give and take for most people out there.
Mm-hmm. So in your role as product manager, do you ever feel like the work that you're doing with like the firearms, live fire testing and stuff like that, is that all something that you can view as training, or does it ever cross the point into like, I'm just throwing rounds downrange?
It does a little bit, and you got to be really careful with that. I mean, too, especially trying to be, business oriented versus, personal goals. I have to be very careful, and I think anybody in this industry has to be really careful with, okay, I have this block of testing that I have to do, and anything outside of that, I'm literally just wasting our money because I'm going to have to go buy more ammunition. So it's kind of a slippery slope, I feel like, in the firearms industry when you work in it and you want to train in it. So what I try to do is do a lot of planning before I go out to the range and say, okay, for instance, I'm testing triggers and PCCs. So yeah, I can set up a little bit of a course and actually, not only get the testing and R&D that I want to out of this, but get a little bit more value in progressing as a shooter, because me progressing as a shooter isn't just for myself, it's for the company as well. You see me all the time on Hiperfire's social media. So me becoming a better shooter, getting more of a spotlight, meeting more people helps the company. So when I'm doing company work, R&D out in live fire, it's just figuring out how to tie that in and not go overboard. It's a delicate balance, but it's relatively easy to keep the more you get into it.
Yeah. That's a tough one where when you got it so for me, I look at it in the form of like content versus like actually training. Like I need to go get film of me shooting this gun or testing this little thing out. And then how can I treat these as drills and set up drills that are going to be good to film and good to learn with and things like that. So there is that whole balance. And I think planning helps a lot with that as well.
It does. It helps a lot with it. And the other thing that, at least from my aspect, everybody has their own opinion on things, but I feel like as shooters get more and more into 3-gun and into their training, they forget the basics. And, coming from a guy who I've been teaching concealed carry as well as getting into competitive training, is that, people will get down their smooth, consistent trigger pull and things of that nature, and then they just want to jump into, okay, I'm going to run from point A to point B and shoot all these targets on the move, and it's like they never go back to the basics. So really, if you're mindful of that, I have a whole database on my computer of different training drills from basic all the way up to advanced, and if I'm going out simply to say, hey, we've got a new bolt carrier, something that I want to test out, and that's as simple as going and standing on a line shooting, well, then I'm going back to the basics and practicing. So like you said, if you get good at organizing what you're doing and planning what you're doing, you can jump all the way from back to the basics up to the advanced. You've always got something to do while staying in those safe parameters and not going overboard.
Right. And then still being able to say, like, look at all the work I got done, boss.
Exactly. See, and I had fun doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when you and I were talking, I think this was when we were at TriggerCon, you were telling me about the origin story of Hyperfire, and I thought it was like super cool because I didn't know anything about it, but it didn't actually start as a AR-15 trigger company, right? Like this was, the idea was something completely different. Can you tell us what that story is? Because I think it's pretty cool for the audience to hear.
Yeah, of course. But I guess before I start there, it's kind of cool to keep in mind that this is the way every single person at this company is. We don't come in here with the knowledge from, I've worked at 5 other firearms companies before, so I'm just going to bring all the same way of thinking, all that kind of stuff in here. I personally come from building hot rods and high-end motorcycles, and as well as being a maintenance man for everything. So you get a lot of different knowledge there. Terry, our owner, is the same way. So he came from a background of engineering, but working for companies like Honeywell. Where he's designing industrial products and things of that nature. He just was a firearms enthusiast, loved firearms, and decided, you know what, I'm going to build a sniper rifle, 50 caliber, in an AR style platform. But if you know anything about our Barretts, they're extremely heavy.
Yeah.
So the Barretts in the military are extremely heavy. So he wanted something that was going to be easily man portable, and then could go out and touch a point target at 1.5 miles. And so he started designing barrel technology, operating systems, triggers, everything. So he completely from the ground up designed his own 50 caliber rifle, and started going around showing this, and he was trying to get military contracts. And as he's meeting with investors, he finally got to this point where it was like, I have no money left. This is my last, this is all I have. I've spent X amount of dollars. That's not my place to say how much, but he really poured his heart and soul into it. and he's just so passionate about it. And he was about done. He was about to say, look, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to go back to, advising and things like that, and designing for other companies, until finally on his very last meeting, one of the guys pulled him to the side and he said, hey, this is all well and good, but I don't know how well it's going to be received. Can you just take this technology and downsize it for the AR-15 platform? I think if you do that, we could have something here. And he'll tell you to this day, like, he just kind of sat back and he went, well, duh, of course I can. Like, how come I didn't think about that before? So at that point, he literally took the last of his pennies, and put it into designing or downsizing these triggers for the AR-15 platform. And he was literally living in a small room, tucking his bed underneath his desk during the day, and sitting there working, turning over to his left to package things up and ship them out. Working in this little bedroom, and next thing you know, he showed up to Rockcastle in 2013 for the Rockcastle Pro-Am and just gave a few of them out. Didn't even bother selling them, just said, hey, here guys, check these out. And there's guys to this day that I just actually saw at Rockcastle Pro-Am this year that are saying, I'm still shooting that original trigger that he gave me back in 2013. And from there, it just instantly was born. I mean, this company has grown so much, even through all this Trump slump stuff that everybody's talking about and everything. Our company's continued to grow, all because of those original ideas, all because of an original passion from Terry. And every single person that has come on board since then has a passion for what we do here and their specific job. So it's been an absolute phenomenal ride. I mean, I've been working with Hiperfire for about a year and a half before I actually started working here. We used to use our enhanced duty triggers in the law enforcement rifles that we used to build. Mm-hmm. And everybody that works here fully believes in what we're doing, the products that we sell. And it's just really created an amazing atmosphere, an amazing backstory.
Dude, that is such a cool backstory. I love to hear about, people that have like something unique and a new idea and then go off to start it, bet the farm, and it totally worked out. That's badass. That's like the American dream.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the cool things about our technology. I said everybody comes from a different background around here. In the AR-15 or firearms industry in general, we've all become used to the norms. There's certain things that we don't see as a problem because it's what everybody's always done.
Yeah.
And so the philosophy here, and Terry, one thing that Terry holds so true to is that, okay, well, you may not see this as a problem, but it could be better. So the moment you make that, like the moment our triggers were made, people are going, oh crap, I didn't know this could be better. So you're telling me there was a problem and I didn't know there was one. So we're essentially creating a problem and the solution at the same time, which is really kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I'll be honest, like I was kind of hesitant to try one out just because you get stuck in the like the modular drop in, just toss in the pins and put the set screw down and it's ready to rock, right? And I looked at that and I'm like, okay, well that's a whole lot of shit to pack into a lower receiver. And I didn't see the necessity for it because, there's all these other solutions out there that are like drop in, right? So I was like, But Dustin Felix gave me one at the Jeff Kirkwold Memorial match last year. And I've got like a whole drawer full of triggers and I like to rotate through them every now and then just to try them out. So I have like an opinion on almost every trigger out there, right?
Yep.
So I had just had that in my drawer and I hadn't thought about it. And then this NRA annual meeting, I was actually hanging out at the Hyperfire booth watching your guys' new movies. And I was talking to Jake Latola. And Jake is like, or I was like, well, so why do you use this trigger? And he said, because science. And, Jake is an engineer at 3M. And I was like, okay, well, maybe there's something to that. So I went ahead and put it in my rifle. Been testing now for like a long time. It's actually a great trigger. So I was wrong. Shit, but it's so easy to get stuck in that, this is the way we've always done it. This is the doctrine kind of thing.
Yep.
And that's one of the big things I really hated about the large aerospace company I worked with is they were very against doing new ways. Like I remember watching one of the very first launches of SpaceX on broadcast television from work at the competitor, and all the old dudes that were standing around we're like, oh yeah, that'll never work. It's gonna blow up. Well, just watch, it'll blow up. And then it didn't blow up. It actually made it to space. And I'm sitting there thinking like, you guys are like dinosaurs and saying that asteroid's not gonna hit us. But then but again, it's so easy to do that I did the same thing with like the trigger technology and stuff like that. Yep. When we should be like rooting for new and innovative ways to do things.
Well, exactly, and that's what a lot of people, it's like, here, you work for us now, drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Or hey, your buddies all shoot this trigger or that barrel or this optic, like you have to be the same, and it's really you don't. And the thing is that new innovation from one company breeds new innovation from another company. So if we're going to progress as an industry, you need that new innovation. And so I absolutely love when people come up to me and they're like, hey, you know what? I have been a Geisley or Timney or CMC fan for all these years. I tried your stuff and I absolutely love it. But these guys are local to me, so I'm going to stick with them. Or these guys have done right by me in the past for something. I'm going to stick with them. I have all the respect in the world for that, but at least they gave it a try, because that's going to breed that new innovation. But like you said, people that just get stuck in the mud, you can't do a whole lot about that. And everybody did that with these triggers. They said, oh, no, it's a big gimmick. They throw those 2 extra springs up top and say that it does something, and I'm not going to bother with it. And then those same people one day have something that breaks at a match, and someone's like, here, put this Hyperfire trigger in, and they go, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to put these in all my rifles. It's like, well, fair enough. You found it on your own.
All right. So for folks that haven't seen, a Hyperfire, if you've been hiding under a rock, what is like the big difference that you would see if you split your receivers and are looking at the trigger in there, say compared to like a normal mil-spec trigger?
Visually, it's going to look very similar, except for number one, the hammer profile is going to be quite a bit smaller, and then you're going to see 2 separate new toggle springs up top that face, front to back, and that's going to be the big identifier when you open a lower receiver and see that. Otherwise, just looking, from the side of the rifle, as of 2018, all of our triggers have a ribbed backbone on them, so you can tell distinctly, even without opening the rifle, whether it's got a Hyperfire trigger in it or not.
I gotcha. Yeah, mine's one of the old ones that does not have the rib backbone on it.
Yeah, most of those upgrades have been, ease of installation, a little bit more protection around the disconnector areas, feature enhancements, but operationally they're virtually the same. So. And
so, what is the benefit of the 2 extra springs up front?
So those 2 extra springs, what they do, it's called our cam over toggle engine, and it works just like a compound bow. So when that hammer is brought back, and if you've ever played with one, manually by hand, you push that hammer back. It's really difficult to push back, but it hits a certain point and it just drops. It becomes almost weightless. And so the point of those springs is that they're putting downward pressure on the hammer. So when the hammer is in its reset position, it's actually relieving sear pressure. So your trigger pull weight is coming from your hammer spring, your trigger spring, and then how much pressure there is on the sears in your trigger. So we're relieving that sear pressure, which allows us to use actually a heavier hammer spring because we're putting downward force against it. But once that system cams over its midpoint after you pull the trigger, it then adds that same spring force going forward to give added pressure on and hitting the firing pin harder. So in historically speaking, if you're going to mess with sear geometry, it's just unsafe because it was designed a certain way. And if you're going to mess with springs, it can become unreliable. That's where you get in your light strikes and things of that nature. So we're able to get down to that 2.5 pound pull range and have a very clean, consistent pull, nice, positive break. Once that break happens, you don't feel any of the mushy over travel. And then when the trigger actually resets, it's not pushing your finger back forward. So really, we've taken all of the areas where you're saying, well, if you want this, you're going to sacrifice this. We've taken all that and said, no, that's not good enough. So now you get that clean, crisp 2.5 pound pull, harder hitting hammer energy, and you maintain all of your reliability. And all of our triggers are drop test certified.
Sweet, interesting. So what? Where's the next gun? What's the next product it's going to be put into?
I've put out a few posts on that on our Hyperfire page. I've got a lot of people asking for the the IWI X95 or X93. Yeah. We've got actually people asking for Benelli M2 triggers. We've had some Ruger 1022 Inquisitions, the SCAR and ACR AK-47. If I had to guess which one was next, I would say we'd probably get pretty close to doing an AK trigger, just since that's one of the more commonly used. But we've also got a lot of questions about the Scorpion. The Scorpion and the IWI are probably the highest two next in the rung. So between AK, Scorpion, and the IWI, I think one of the three of those is probably going to be next.
Nice. Oh, that's interesting. I guess the X95, like people are looking for other options because those bullpups, man, it's so weird how the trigger works. I guess weird in like the traditional context, right? Because your trigger and your hammer like right up here, but those have like the big long connectors that run the full length and everything.
Yep.
So that's kind of interesting how to solve that problem.
Oh, and that's just it. We haven't even gotten to the point of looking into it yet. We do have some more things in the hopper for the AR-15 for this year, or for next year. We just released our new safety selector that's actually having its official release on the 18th of this month. But next year we've got some more potential trigger options and other parts coming out for the AR-15, and I would imagine that next year will be when we start the R&D and development on some of these other trigger platforms.
Nice. So you guys have a grip. You're adding a safety. Got the triggers. What?
Got our compensators.
Compensators. Right.
Yep. So those are the big ones that we have right now, and then we've got a charging handle that we've actually had some samples of during SHOT Show this year. So that one is kind of in it. The next one in the hopper, we just got a few final things to finish up, and then things I can't quite talk about yet are some more trigger options. So these ones are going to be pretty crazy. So
nice. Well, if you got a notepad next to you, add this one to the list. So I've got this IWI Galil Ace, right? AK like, and the trigger on it is like super. Let's see if I can get some white behind me. Super long, and
oh wow,
yeah, it's kind of mushy. It's mil-specky, and it's funny. 'Cause like when I picked this up, I'm like, well, that's not bad for an AK. And then I was shooting it back to back with my 3-gun rifle, and it's pretty bad when compared to like a matched trigger,
Yeah,
it's not too bad when I shoot like a mil-spec AR trigger next to it, but once you get out like something decent in like the 3.5 pound range, this one needs some love.
Hey, I'd be more than willing to see what they look like and play with it. That's kind of that's where ideas come from, man. Just take a look at them, see what happens, and if it looks like a good market, we go for it.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll I just broke that one, but we'll have to connect you to get one that works.
Oh.
All right. Well, Ben, so it's cool you guys are up to cool stuff. I like to see the innovation come out. Terry's an interesting dude. Met him for the first time at NRA annual meeting, and seems like a pretty interesting person to have on staff. And it's nice to have like those visionaries that look at things and think like, oh, well, this can be better, Yeah.
Yep. When you look at a lot of those guys that are really heavily into engineering and science, and a lot of times they work best in their little cubby hole, stuffed away somewhere else. They don't like to talk to people, and that's one of the things I absolutely love about Terry is because, I understand what he's talking about, no matter how technical he gets, but then it's easy for me to translate for him when he's talking to people. But what I love about him is that he's always willing to talk to you. He may not always. You may not always understand when he starts getting really technical with things, and he may not catch some of the jokes and things like that at times because he's thinking about the next technical thing he's going to talk about. But just really a phenomenal guy. And one of the things I love most about him, I think I said it before, that most other people don't get to see, is that he is just so kind-hearted. For everything, like every single day that he comes in here, it's not just, okay, what can I design today? Oh, everybody leave me alone. It's like, no, how am I going to take care of my guys today? Oh, you need this? All right, done. Take care of it. We got you. And so his mind is always going towards how do I take care of my guys? How do I design the best products possible? And how do we take care of our customers? And it's just amazing.
That's pretty great. Yeah, and we've I've heard some cool customer service stories from you when we were hanging out at TriggerCon. So it sounds like you guys are having some good successes in that front as well. So that's great to hear, man. Well, Ben, the main topic that we're here to talk about is something you mentioned in passing when we were at a Jeff Kirkwold Memorial match, and I thought it was pretty interesting. You said that you're overcoming an injury, and so you've been just getting back into working out hardcore recently, and you said that you noticed in those in the shoot off, the stand and deliver type of stuff where you're nice and stable and everything, just keeping your long guns held out more was much easier lately because of the physical training that you're putting into. Give us a little bit of background on that and what you meant by that.
Yeah. So, I mean, completely long story short, I'm actually medically retired from the military. I got medically retired back in 2012. It's due to some spinal injuries and a lot of arthritic type symptoms. I had Lyme's disease, meningitis, a whole ton of stuff. Had to learn how to walk again. So,
damn.
Over the last,
I'm glad you're here, man.
I know, right? So over the last, about 7 years, I've been dealing with all of these things, and I was never supposed to run again. I wasn't even supposed to walk again. And so I've been dealing with these things, but finally I got the VA to actually look into and work on some of these things. So back in last year, I was still running with all the normal pains that I had. I couldn't actually wear my gun belt between stages because otherwise my back would give out and I wouldn't even be able to stand up. So I had to take my belt off between every single stage and all that. So in January and December of this year, they actually went in and burnt out nerves in my back. So that helped out. And then in March, I had wrist surgery done. I had a lot of issues with my right wrist. So even just halfway through a stage, all of a sudden my hand would start giving out and I wasn't able to hold a pistol as well. So there was a little bit of things with that. But after my wrist got fixed, I started doing some more training, got back to my dry fire training, and I kind of got right back to where I was before all the surgeries. And all of a sudden I had this break for about a month and a half where I didn't do any matches and I didn't do any dry fire training, but being that my wrist and my back were finally better, I started hitting the gym again. I started hitting it really hard. I've always been a fitness enthusiast. Back when I was in the military, before I got hurt, I was 225 pounds at 6'3", in very good shape. And so what I noticed in that month and a half was the only thing different that I had done was getting on a slightly better diet, nothing crazy, but hitting the gym every single day and being very deliberate about what I was doing, working on certain things that would benefit me in 3-gun. So thinking of all of the motions that we do in 3-gun, all of the different muscle groups that you use, building up not only strength, but stamina in those muscle groups. And the very next match I shot, it was a smaller local match, but I was up by about 15 to 20 spaces where I would normally be. And the only thing that I was able to attribute that to was the fitness aspect of it. So I started looking a lot more into it. I've got a lot of friends, a lot of contacts that are into nutrition, fitness, all these different things. So I started doing a lot of research, and that just really became prevalent to me, was that everybody's looking for the next leg up. What's the next pistol that I'm going to buy? Shotgun, rifle, gear, everything. Oh, what's the newest, latest, and greatest, quad loading or dry fire technique? What can I do to get better? And I've yet to hear a single person talk about fitness other than, oh, I'm going to go do some sprints before this next match. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not specific to what we do. How do you think football players and basketball players and baseball players all get better at their craft? They have a very specific regimen that they have set up for those sports. How come nobody's done it yet for 3-gun? So that's where this whole idea came in.
I got you. So you're putting together like a specific program. Now, is this just for yourself, or are you going to be sharing this program?
No, I'm going to be sharing this program. So actually, November, December, and January, it's a 90-day starter program. So there's plans for an entire huge fitness aspect around this. So I actually own my own LLC outside of what Hiperfire does. And that's based solely around training, and now I'm throwing in a fitness aspect to it. So there's a program that I'm introducing. I have a test panel coming through November, December, and January to run through this program to prove the results. And then hopefully in March of this coming year, I will release an actual program that will help 3-gunners at any level continue to progress and start to focus on that aspect. If you really want to be the best in 3-gun, you want to progress in 3-gun, I wholeheartedly believe you have to focus on fitness. Most people just don't know where to go, so I'm creating that.
Very cool. So you don't have to give us the secret sauce here, but when we talk about the specific things that we have to do for 3-gun, a lot of the things, a lot of the time, we're carrying like a rifle on our back, shotgun in our hand, pistol on our hip. So we're running burdened, right?
Yep.
20 yards, 30 yards, up to 100 yards for, a long stage, something through the forest, like a Missouri 3-gun or like Generation 3-gun that's going on right now. So what kinds of exercises are you prescribing for that type of training?
So a lot of the exercises that are coming into this are derived from both football and baseball. So if anybody's ever done football before, you've got a lot of your side by sides, your side to sides, karaoke's, your back pedals, things of that nature. So a lot of it for the beginner side of it, a lot of it is centered around warm-ups, stretching, and then basic movement drills. Because I can't count how many times I've been out to 3-gun matches, and when you see somebody have to sidestep or backpedal somewhere, it's completely and utterly foreign to them. And even if it isn't for them, they look like they're not going to trip over themselves, they don't do it very well. So like I said, a lot of it is based on football and baseball style drills, but also it's based on high intensity interval training. So if anybody is into fitness at all already, you've probably heard of high intensity interval training unless you've been living under a rock. And what's really great about that is 15 minutes a day for 3 days a week of high intensity interval training is about the same as spending an hour straight at a steady pace on a treadmill running. And who wants to do that? Nobody wants to do that.
It's terrible.
Even back when I was at my prime, I didn't want to do that. So there's a lot of benefits to it, and the program is centered around 3-gun and how can we get better as 3-gunners. But the reality of it is just being healthier in general is going to help you to live longer. So a lot of us 3-gunners, a lot of people in the 2A realm, we're very stubborn. It's all red meat and bacon and how much beer can I drink and all that kind of stuff. It's like, well, you say that now, but when you hit 60 and the doctor's telling you that your heart's going to fail on you, you're going to change your tune. So why not change it now? So the idea behind the program is not to completely revamp people's lives. It's not to give something to where you have to dedicate 4 to 6 days a week in the gym for an hour, 2 hours at a time. It's a very simple program that has daily warm-ups and stretches to keep your body limber, to keep you healthy. And then those 3 days a week of high intensity interval training. And that's really kind of the first portion of it. Get everybody broken in nice and smoothly. And then after that, there's some rather CrossFit similar drills that people can go through. I mean, you think about it, for instance, when I'm out with a rifle or a shotgun and I'm swinging around to different targets, think about what muscles you use. Well, in baseball, there's a lot of techniques where you would take a medicine ball and you're essentially working on your obliques, throwing it against a wall, catching it, swinging back and forth. So you're working on those same muscles. When you're doing target transitions in 3-gun, you have to move fast and stop. So it's being able to do those explosive movements, stop on target, and continue to engage. So like I said, a lot of it's derived from football, baseball. A lot of it involves high intensity interval training and then injury prevention with the warm-ups and stretches.
Okay. Well, give us some specific exercises. Like what would one of these 15-minute exercise sessions look like?
So high intensity interval training is based on high periods of intense activity followed by periods of rest. So essentially you would do, for instance, if anybody's seen battle ropes, so you walk into any gym around anywhere and they've got the 2 ropes and you see people doing this with their hands, that would be something where you go as hard as you possibly can for about 20 or 30 seconds and then you stop for 20 or 30 seconds, pick that back up and do it again. So you would have a cycle of that for about 15 minutes. You might have 3 different workouts. Let's just say you did 5 minutes of that. So you'd end up going with 5 sets of doing that. And you would move on to another workout such as sprints, right? You could have shuttle sprints. So it's about 20 seconds, 30 seconds of shuttle sprints back and forth, followed by 20, 30 seconds of rest. So it's something that can be easily done. It's there is no equipment needed. I mean, there are certain ones if you want to do, you can get equipment for it, but you're talking things like even if you ride a bicycle, even if bicycling is your thing, you've got a bike sitting in the garage, you've been meaning to take it out, you can go out and ride your bicycle, go as hard as you can for 30 seconds, rest and coast for 30 seconds. So things like shuttle sprints, if you've ever heard of 60-120s, so it's 60 seconds of sprinting your heart out and then 120 seconds of just walking. So it's anything that extremely elevates your heart rate, gets your blood pumping, and then suddenly you're kind of shocking your body into this wave, right? Your body never has time to catch up. But when you're doing a long-term run, for instance, a steady pace jog for an hour, your body hits a certain point and it just stays there. And eventually your body becomes comfortable there. Mm-hmm. Not to say that your legs aren't burning and your lungs aren't burning, but your metabolism isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. So that's why this 15 minutes, 3 days a week is more effective. I guess, like I said, really things like battle ropes, the sprints. I'm going to have an entire database of about 15 to 20 different workouts, and there's many more than that you can do. But this entire program is based around making it as easy as possible. So you can literally just get home from work, and if you don't have 15 minutes where you would normally go sit on the couch or check Facebook on your phone, if you can't do that, then you have no use looking into it, and you have no use complaining about where your performance is at in 3-gun. So again, it's built around simple exercises that we can do with no equipment, and that anybody can do 3 days a week. So
yeah, and if you don't have 15 minutes, you're full of shit, because like you said, you definitely waste 15 minutes a day looking at Facebook on the phone, or if you watch any television at all, you have no excuse.
Yeah. Well, and I guarantee you that anybody that watches this podcast, you even spend 15 minutes thinking about what you should do.
Yeah.
So if you just make it a no-brainer 3 days a week when you get home to say, hey, I'm going to do these things, even the stretching and warm-ups, right? So I say 15 minutes a day for 3 days a week. There's 15 minutes of warm-up and stretch, then the 15 minutes of the high-intensity interval training so you don't hurt yourself. But then every other day of the week just involves the warm-up and the stretch. So you do have 6 days a week where you do the warm-up and stretch, and then 3 of those days a week where you do the high-intensity interval training. But again, even examining my own life, I'm a single dad, I work at Hiperfire, and I'm constantly gone at matches. I mean, I just went 3 weeks in a row traveling the country, driving to each of these matches, and I guarantee you I had hours a day that I could be dedicating to this kind of stuff. So again, 15 to 30 minutes a day, not a problem. Don't BS me.
Well, I like that you have things that you can do without a ton of equipment too, so there you get rid of that hurdle and the excuse as well. So what kind of what kind of results are you looking at here as far as improvement in your competitive shooting game?
Well, so I'm a firm believer that being able to shoot slow, or as Jake Latola likes to say, shoot boring. You know, when you get into your position, you're not just sitting there pulling the trigger as fast as you can, trying to hit the target. You know, I shot 5 times and I hit once, now I can move on. Spend your time getting your hits, and if you can improve your movements in between those positions, you know how to move properly, you could break away from a position a lot faster. You'll see improvements in your time through that. Not only that, but your manipulations, the ability to carry that gear, get it out of its position a lot faster, comes more naturally when your body is healthy and in shape. So that's where a lot of that improvement is going to come from. So the idea here too is that this program isn't some change your life program. It's not some insanity program. I've seen so many people do P90X, insanity, all these other things, and they get 1 to 2 weeks into it, and they're like, F this, I'm done, I'm out, I can't do this. Nope, this is crap. So this, again, thinking of all the people that are actually involved in our industry and in competitive shooting, they're not the kind of people that are suddenly going to go change their lifestyle so they can be good at 3-gun. So if you can improve in small increments and show people that, hey, this is going to work, eventually you create that drive, you create that desire to go even further, and that's where the more in-depth, more advanced fitness instruction that I'm getting into is going to come from. So the idea is get them started slow, get them seeing results right away, because I guarantee you every single person that does this is going to see results, unless you're already a marathon runner, and this program isn't going to do anything for you. Anybody, any of us that are out there drinking beer, eating steaks and bacon, and never getting off the couch or out of our car, you're going to see results in it. And it's going to be in those times, those times from moving from position to position, and how you feel when you're done. You're not getting so winded. You're able to maintain a higher speed. And then things like, the adrenaline, the shake is going to start to go away, because not only is your body strengthening, but your body's used to a high level of intensity. So your body's going to start to say, oh, this isn't so bad when I'm doing this 30-second run through a stage.
Right. No, those are some real tangible benefits. Yeah. When you talk about the putting yourself through regular stress, then when you're on that stress on the weekend, it feels just like a normal state, and your body's like, okay, this is what we do. We know about this state here. This is our home.
And they've done panels on it. They actually took over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, they took like 10 or 12 people, and they had half of them do steady pace runs 4 days a week for a half an hour a day. And then they had the other half do high intensity interval training, 15 minutes a day, 3 days a week. And the people that were doing the high intensity interval training could handle they had twice as much stamina as the runners at the end of this period. So this high intensity interval training, this shocking your body into a constant state of, oh, I'm up here, oh, I'm down here, and giving your body that shock, your body eventually naturally starts to be able to handle more stamina, more stress. And it's actually been proven to strengthen your heart for the long term. It burns more fat over the course of 24 hours than any steady pace run, all of these different benefits. So over the course of time, over even one season of 3-gun, you are going to start to see those benefits. And the great thing about us all doing 3-gun is everything's tracked on practice score. Everybody writes down their scores everywhere. So you will be able to see a steady improvement. Now, granted, I can't do anything about your shotgun breaking on you, but I can make you move faster on that stage.
Right. I love that. So for me personally, I've told the story on the show many times that I used to do a lot of obstacle racing, Spartan races, Tough Mudders, Warrior Dash, things like that. And when I started getting serious about wanting to improve and make the races go smoother and everything, I joined a CrossFit gym here in Colorado. Yep. And I remember talking to the one of the owners, Jesse, and actually I don't know if I ever told him this, but I should. And we were talking about that, and I'm talking about goals and everything. This is like just a consultation, and I'm like, I want to get better at climbing the rope, climbing walls, running. That's like my primary. And he's like, okay, well, we're gonna get you squatting heavy. We're gonna get you deadlifting and cleaning, and that's gonna make you a better runner. And I was like, this guy's full of shit. Like that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And because in my mind, I was just thinking like, well, to get better at running, you just run, right?
Yeah.
But nah, he was right. And like in just 2 months after I started working out there with lifting heavy and the high intensity workouts that you're doing, because nothing we ever did was any longer than like 14 minutes or anything. Yeah. But an hour a race is several hours. So I couldn't match that up. But then I went and ran a 5K and took like 3 minutes off my time that I had been, bumping on for like the longest time. And I was like, oh, Jesse totally knew what he was talking about.
Weird.
Yeah, that's me. I owe him an apology.
Yeah, and that's what this is based on, is that you don't have to do all these things that you see all over the place. Again, there's not all the running 5-10 miles. There's not all this stuff. If you can do, I guess if I told you that you can do a smaller amount in a shorter period of time, you just have to make it a habit. Would you not do it? Or are you going to sit there and continue to say, well, I'm going to do a couple sprints 3 days before this match, and then I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to complain when my performance is poor. No, you're not going to do that. I mean, not if you want to be a better 3-gunner, you got to listen and you got to do it. And this is an easy way to do that. Right.
All right. So it's Sunday here. You've got the work week coming up, and then you've got a Saturday. So including today, you've got 7 days. Give us an idea of what your personal training regimen looks like over those 7 days.
Over the next 7 days, right now I'm in a lot of the movement drills. So I'm actually in this whole program. We've been talking a lot about the high intensity interval training. There's actually going to be 90 days to it. So there's 30 days of the high intensity interval portion. There's a 30-day more aerobic portion to get your body more limber, and then there is a 30-day more of your strength training portion. So right now, I am in more of the movement, more of the aerobic portion. So tomorrow I've actually got shuttle sprints. So that's my main thing tomorrow. And then on Tuesday is just a stretch and warm up day, keeping muscles and everything limber. Wednesday, I've got a whole plethora of football movement drills I'm going to be doing. So it's involving karaoke, side shuffles, sprints, cone drills, all sorts of stuff like that. Thursday, again, is going to be another warm up and stretch day. And then Friday, I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do here. I'm actually in the phase of testing out certain workouts. So I haven't quite picked what I'm going to be doing on Friday.
I got you. So you've got Workout day, rest day, workout day, rest day, workout day.
Essentially, you're still doing something every day because you've got 15 minutes of the warm up and stretch routine. But that's just to keep your body limber. Again, the idea behind this, I personally am the guy that has a typical workout regimen of lifting weights. There's the arm days, the chest days, all that kind of stuff. That's what I'm normally doing, but I'm completely getting rid of that right now to make sure that this program is working. So I am in that, the movement drills phase of checking everything out before I really start this test panel in November.
I got you. So are most of the workouts you're doing outdoors? Are they indoors? What kind of space do you need to do it?
They can really be done either. It's just dependent on what's available to you. A lot of people that I have met don't necessarily have access to a gym or something like that they can do it at. But I know tons of people they've got a backyard. If you simply have a backyard or a park that you can go to, it's extremely simple to do. And again, this stuff doesn't require any type of equipment. However, doing things like the cone drills and stuff like that, helps to go buy a cheap set of flag football cones or something like that to do these. But you can truly do it anywhere. I know people who do workout routines like this in the parking garage at work. Mm-hmm. They take 10, 15 minutes after they're pulling back in, parking their car from lunch, and they say, you know what, I'm going to do this real quick. Let me throw on my tennis shoes and do it. And that's what this whole workout is based around.
So something portable that you can take anywhere, low equipment intensity kind of thing.
Exactly.
Just using your body.
Exactly. And if you go on vacation, even if you are in the middle of the weight training portion and you go on a vacation where you're not going to have a gym or something there, you can cut in some more of the high intensity interval training just to keep things going on. And you can do it anywhere. So there's small portions that may require you to do some weight training. But right now, currently, I'm looking around us as competitive shooters. What do we have that I can substitute for weights? Okay. So, heck, if you can be doing the workouts with the firearm that you're going to be using for it, why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, shoot this Khalil here. That's a husky little fella.
Exactly. And so when you're going to be working on shoulders, and a lot of the workouts are helping you strengthen your shoulders for that ability to get your rifle up, stop it, and hold it out there so you're not getting shaky if you're going for a target that just you can't seem to hit. And so why not use that same rifle that you're going to do it with?
Yeah, that makes sense. So if you can do it like your basement or your backyard or something like that, that would help out.
Exactly. And and I apologize for not being able to be a little bit more direct on that. I'm actually, like I said, I'm in the phase of testing out the workouts, and if something's not working out, not feeling good, really, once I physically do it, I'm going, I don't really see how this relates. I'm getting rid of it. So there's a lot that's going to go into it, but yes, the ability, the thing is like we have 3-gunners ranging all the way from youth 3-gunners at 10, 12 years old, all the way up to guys that are just simply doing it for something to keep them active at 70 years old.
Yep.
So the idea is for this entry level portion, what works for everybody? Then you can advance from there. And so the ability to do it with ease, low amount of time, can be done anywhere, limited amount of equipment, really trying to create a program that says, why not?
Right.
You give me one good reason why you can't do this, and I'll leave you alone.
I like it. So when you do have your program available in the springtime here, where is it going to live? Where are you going to make it available at?
Well, I'm debating on that right now. So I have a webpage as well. I'm debating on how I'm going to do that. A lot of it, I'm thinking that I'll probably just start to dole out in small pieces over social media and YouTube.
Okay.
At first, and if it gains a lot of traction, if there's enough of it, then I will be finalizing it, putting it on the website as a package that you can buy, either that or an online access sort of thing. But the other thing for me too is it's more of an enjoyment piece for me. So I'm still in debates of whether this is something that I'm just going to continue to piece out online and let people just kind of do it as they may, or if it's something that I actually want to sell and maybe potentially create a business around. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'll get more of that figured out. But definitely social media and YouTube first.
Right. So for those that are listening on the podcast later, Ben just did the international making it rain symbol when he was saying doling out the exercises for a visual for you.
I'm just going to be making it rain.
Making it rain
guys.
Exercises.
Fitness program for free.
Well, Ben, where can we follow you if we want to be the first to check that out and to see the programs you're putting out?
So even starting over the next couple of weeks, I'll be releasing just brief little videos. Won't be descriptive on anything, but you can catch them either on my Instagram channel, which is BP_3gun, or you can catch them on my Facebook page, which I actually do not have a business Facebook page, but my personal Facebook page is just Ben Wrench Peterson. So you'll be able to find them at either of those two spots. I will be having a new Facebook page coming out that'll coincide with that, but the main spot where you're going to start getting to see stuff even now is going to be the BP_3gun on Instagram.
Very cool. Well, we've got your Instagram linked up in the YouTube notes here, and we'll put those links in the show notes as well. And Ben, if you do get that Facebook page, let me know, and we'll send you a link to that your way. So final piece, which I think is like kind of a foundational thing, but we did skip over it when we got to the sexy stuff, which is like the actual physical fitness, is nutrition. So when we're at a match and they're like, oh, hey, match food's available, usually it's something, guilty, savory. It's probably got some French fries added to it. So,
burgers and beans, ribs, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So let's talk about the nutrition piece. So I know from the sports that I've competed in as well, nutrition's huge. Day of nutrition during a race or during a match. But what is like your nutrition plan, or what is it going to look like for I guess weeks and months leading up to a match?
Really, the nutrition side of it. I have a lot of different things that I've tried, and the hard part with nutrition is everybody's different. I can tell you the basic cookie cutter stuff that any fitness person's going to recommend to you. Eat nuts and avocados and cut out carbs on these certain days. You can try carb cycling, all that kind of stuff. The idea around this program is you still can have a lot of the things that you have grown to love over the years. It's just knowing what portions in moderation to do it in, as well as things like when you're in active sports. There's a reason when we were all kids playing sports, they brought out orange slices and bananas and things like that. The potassium, the vitamin C, the amino acids that's in all that stuff really helps you out. So there will be some recommendations that go along with that, but again, not causing shock to everybody's system who's used to eating again steaks and bacon all the time. There isn't going to be, hey, you need to start eating kale and avocado. Just sticking with a lot of your chicken, rice, fish, vegetables like green vegetables, broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, things of that nature are all very good for you. And if you can just tune a little bit more of that into your diet, it'll be a lot better for you. So there will be more that comes into that, but I'm personally not a nutritionist. I know I have the things that I stick to. Most of my diet consists of chicken, rice, and broccoli. I mean, I eat that so much, I'm surprised I'm not sick of it. But that's just me personally, because I do delve a little bit deeper into the fitness side. But I actually have a friend of mine who is a entry-level nutritionist, and we're just going to be working on a very basic guidelines that will go along with this fitness program to say, hey, if you want to add just the cherry on top, try to stick with these few things. So it's meant to be very simple, sticking with your basic food groups and just saying, hey, you know what? I'm not going to have that second bowl of ice cream. Oh, no, you know what? I'm not going to drink 6 Monsters while I'm out at a 3-gun.
Three gunners love their Monster, man. It's pretty crazy.
I follow hundreds upon hundreds of people, and not to mention all the people that I just personally know at these things, and it is ungodly the amount of Monster that is consumed by these people. I'm surprised that Monster does not just sponsor. I mean, I'm not, all the 2A stuff, but I'm so surprised that half these people don't have Monster all over their jerseys, because I've watched somebody consume 8 Monsters in one day.
Oh my god!
At a 3-gun. At a 3-gun course, and I'm just going, oh my dear Lord! Like, no wonder you're shaking and not able to move at the end of the day.
Yeah. Holy crap! So yeah, the worst time I had with Monsters when I was driving back from Kentucky to when I lived in Austin. So Kentucky to Austin, I think it was like 14 and a half hour trip or something like that, and I was going to make it in one, and I left at like 5 something Kentucky time, and man, I drank like way too many energy drinks overnight. And by the time I got to my house and I'm like lying in bed, like I was like literally shaking. I'm like, okay, this is not good. I've got problems here.
Yeah,
I don't know how someone could do 8 and still hit a long range target.
What do you mean fall asleep?
That's pretty much what it was. Like, why am I shaking right now?
Well, and that's what a lot of it is. So the nutrition side and really the recovery side of all of it is, number one, getting your 8 hours of sleep. So I know a lot of us have extremely busy schedules, and doing things like drinking Monsters, we feel like it's helping us stay awake. A lot of people in Three Gun smoke or chew. And if I just if I have these cigarettes while I'm driving, I've got 2 more hours to go. On their drive. Things of that nature. If you're just learning to start cutting those things out and doing them in moderation. I drink Monsters myself. I am no fitness guru. I have I haven't been doing this my whole life. I'm just finding the little things to change. So for me, it's okay. After lunchtime, I'm not going to drink any more caffeine. Having a Monster in the morning is not. It's not good for you, but it's not horrible for you if you just do one and you're done. By the time the afternoon hits, you're staying away from things like caffeine, high sugar content, all that kind of stuff. Stick with some waters. You will sleep better, you will feel better, and cutting out a little bit of that Monster or sweets or anything like that, combining it with this training program or any training program, you're going to start to see results of losing weight, feeling better, moving faster, all of these things. So again, the nutrition portion of it's going to be very basic, and you don't have to change your entire life to do all of it. So
just cutting out the last Monster of the day, I think would help. Just one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I see people chugging one like when they're on their last stage and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, when do you plan to sleep?
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. It's such an interesting thing too, because the when you think about Three Gun and you think of like a 2-day, 3-day match, something like that, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, when you think of it as an athletic performance, almost everything that we do is out of alignment with that performance, right? So
yes,
we a lot of times will travel overnight to get there early, walk, sleep for a little bit, walk stages, and then that night we're going to go out to like a big Mexican dinner with a bunch of friends and have a few margaritas. So now we're sleep deprived. We've eaten like shit. We had some alcohol. Maybe we get to bed a little bit too late, but you got to get up early to go to that first stage. So like already that's kicking off the wrong pace. And so then if you take that a little further, you're having PB&Js on the range, or maybe you didn't wash your hands, you're ingesting a bunch of lead now, and you're catching Monsters. Like it's pretty easy to go off the rails, and not quite have it together. So when we talk about like match nutrition, what's like some things that we can bring to a match and eat during stages that are going to give us the energy that we need to continue, but not be that synthetic, Monster NOS type of stuff?
Really, the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are really not that bad. Obviously it depends on the peanut butter and the jelly that you're using.
Yeah.
But things like that are actually very good for you. You're going to get your protein and a lot of other good nutrients from that peanut butter. Eating the carbs with the bread is not a big deal because you're literally consuming it and burning it straight off while you're running through these stages. But otherwise, a lot of things like bananas, oranges, apples, brings nuts. Water, stay away from fruit juices, but you might think about some electrolyte beverages. I get a lot of the little electrolyte packages and I drop them into a water while I'm doing that. Those are the things that are going to keep your body operating optimally, the way that it's supposed to. And just having those little things, it's not about filling you up. It's just about satiating the hunger, so you're not too worried about it and making sure that your body's got some nutrients to consume. I'm also big on protein bars. Every time I'm at a match, if you've ever shot a match with me, I've got one pocket in my gun bag that's always got granola bars, trail mix, protein bars, all that kind of stuff in it. And those are the things that keep me fueled up. And when I'm doing my workouts and when I'm just kind of munching and satiating my hunger throughout the day at a match, I've felt tenfold better.
Now, are you eating when you're hungry, or are you eating at planned times throughout the day, like during stages or after you shoot or before you shoot?
Generally, personally, I eat 8 times a day. So I try to consume 3,000 to 4,000 calories a day. When I'm at these matches, that doesn't really happen. So yes, I try to stick with, it depends on whether the match is an AM PM format or whether it's an all day format.
Mm-hmm.
I do try to eat at certain times of day, and I've been on my diet for so long now that those are the times of the day when I'm hungry. So that is my signal personally. Otherwise, I've also seen a lot of people where they just set alarms on their phone, especially if you are the type of person that just eats because you're bored, or when you are hungry, you just engorge yourself on everything. Set specific amounts that you're allowed to eat and put that on a timer on your phone. Set an alarm, say, hey, eat this at this time, and just let those alarms go off during the day. Everybody's got their phone in their pocket because they're getting ready to video themselves or one of their buddies out on the stage, so you're gonna feel it go off. Oh, hey, I got to eat a protein bar real quick, or hey, I'm gonna eat an apple real quick. And it's just those easy reminders. When you start getting into those habits, again, you're gonna start to feel so much better. So personally, I let my hunger dictate it because I've been on my diet for so long, my body's used to it. But most people should be setting some sort of a schedule or sticking to it, because the thing is, if you don't do that, if you don't snack when you start to get a little bit hungry, and you don't eat the right portions while you're doing that, what's going to happen is you're going to get done shooting for the day, and all of a sudden, once you get there to the main clubhouse or wherever you guys are going at the end of the day, that's when you're gonna be like, nope, screw this, man. I want nachos, I want steaks, I want burgers. That's when it's all gonna go out the window, and then you've spent your entire day starving yourself, and now you're just shoveling fast food and crap in your face because you weren't managing throughout the day.
Yep, it's very true, and it's easy trap to fall in as well, especially when you're traveling, because you got that mindset of like, oh, I'm on vacation now,
Casey's Pizza and yuck, I can't even think about it right now. I just spent 3 weeks on the road. It's disgusting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Ben, how much water are you drinking during a normal match day? And then do you do the the runner or biker thing where you kind of hydrate the day before?
Oh, well, I mean, the thing is, for me, it's 1 gallon a day, no matter what. So
okay.
I work out 6 days a week anyways. So, it's that normal gallon a day. But when I'm going into really intense periods of working out, like for instance, even during 3-gun events, when I'm at my hotel on the road or something like that, I will do sit-ups, push-ups, maybe some shuttle sprints in the parking lot real quick in the morning to get warmed up. And then I'm going and I'm shooting a 3-gun event all day. So those times, there's usually a little bit more water consumed, but 9 times out of 10, I'm just keeping track of, okay, I bought a 24 case of water. It's in the back of the truck. I know I need to drink X amount of these throughout the day, and anything outside of that, just good for me. But yes, hydrating the day before, even 2 days before, is always a good thing. Making sure you're getting those electrolytes, because if you're waiting until the day of to do it, you're not benefiting yourself in any way, shape, or form. And that's something all of us should know. We've been told that our whole lives. If you've ever been in the gym, the military, any type of workout routine, even back in school, they tell you need to be drinking water the day or two prior to an event like that.
Right.
So yes, definitely. I do usually try to I bump up the amount of electrolytes and things like that I'm doing the day before. But my water intake personally doesn't change. And if you just get in a good habit of that, you'll be pretty good.
All right. Well, I think that's it's a pretty good foundation for the sort of mindset we need to be getting ourselves into for physical training for 3-gun. Ben will be keeping an eye out when you do have your programs available. We'll be looking at BP_3gun on Instagram and watching you do your workouts, take your gym selfies and all that stuff.
I try not to do too many of those.
We're right on. Well, Ben, thanks for being here on the 3-Gun Show. If there's one thought or one piece of advice that you can leave the audience with, what would it be?
The number one thing is you are the only person who can change your performance out in 3-gun. You can't manage, gear braking, things like that. But what you can manage is how you take care of yourself and the amount of training that you're willing to do. And if you're not willing to put in the work, and this program, certain things like this are designed to be small amounts. If you can't sacrifice even that small amount, then you have no reason to sit and complain when you're not getting better. So focus on that. Get that in your mind. Keep an eye out on my social media pages, and I will start getting some content out there. And I promise you give me a little bit of time, even in your normal everyday, you don't have to change anything. You will see results.
I love it. Ben, that's a great final thought. Thanks again, man, for being here on the 3-Gun Show. Appreciate you sharing the knowledge with the 3-Gun Show community, and thanks for your time on the Sunday here, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, before you take off, check out the show notes at 3gunshow.com/episode 228 for links to things that we discussed in the podcast, including Ben's website, 3G Fit, all his social media so you can keep up to date on when his program launches, plus the replay of the YouTube live video that we recorded, and a link to sign up to support the show on Patreon. This podcast is brought to you by Armalite, the original. Armalite rifles put the AR in AR-15. The rifles themselves come with 1-8 twist barrels, match barrels, 18-inch or 13.5-inch with a 15-inch or 12.5-inch handguard, Timney trigger, Luth AR stock, adjustable gas system, tunable comp, a patented tunable comp. This thing's ready to go right out of the box for a 3-gun with no additional modifications other than putting on a nice optic. I myself use a Vortex Viper PST 1-6 when I'm shooting TAC Ops or their Spitfire when I'm shooting limited. Check them out at armalite.com. Quick reminder that if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcast content so you will always get the very latest. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.